All right, cool. Sending this over. There we go. Just sent it out to the group chat. See some settings quickly. Oh, damn. Here we have latency. So while we wait for some people to join, let's see. We have same database that we're using for class, the Henry database. Created all the tables, author, book, copy, publisher, wrote inventory branch. We also have the inventory one added, and this is just show you fully working and running in the database. So I'm gonna first go over kind of what Node.js is and how it kind of all works. So Node.js is a way of running JavaScript in the backend instead of the front end. So normally JavaScript was used to manipulate stuff within the web browser, but they actually have begun to use it as a server-side language to be able to transmit data to different websites and different applications and stuff like that. So the first thing that you guys are going to need to be able to use Node.js is to actually download Node.js. So you're going to go over to nodejs.org and download either version, either or works. And while you're waiting for that download, I would also suggest, if you're on Windows, downloading Git and Git Bash, which you can get. This URL is a little weird, so you can just Google Git download, and it'll take you here, and you can download it for whatever operating system you have. If you're on Windows, I highly suggest getting Git and Git Bash. Git Bash is a terminal that looks like this, but it lets you use most of the Unix commands, so I think it's really, really useful. So while you're doing those downloads, I'll kind of explain how the whole ecosystem of Node works. So once you have Node.js installed, it also comes with something called npm, which is the Node Package Manager. And the Node Package Manager allows you to instantly download packages from like a central repository that Node has. So for example, the most used package that we're currently going to work with is Express, which Express allows you to easily create a web server in Node. So I'm kind of going to go through with you guys how to fully work on this. So let me just go back to my desktop. So I'm currently on my desktop. I actually have for you guys a little working sample here. And I'll put this in the description for you guys to follow. I'll also add it to the chat so that you guys can get it. So this is GitHub, which is a cloud hosting for Git repositories. So it lets me be able to share files with you guys. So if once you get to the site, you go here, and once you already have Git, so let's just do it from the very beginning. So open Git bash right here, and ls is a command that lists all the directories, and that's a Unix command, so it works on Mac and Linux, and if you have Git bash, it works as well. And I want to get a desktop. It's there, so I do cd for change directory desktop, and in the desktop here, we're gonna download or clone this repository that we have. So we're gonna do git clone and then paste this link that we got. My bad. Let's copy that. Do it again. Clone. I can't spell. Git clone. Paste. Okay. And that will download for you guys the repository. I already downloaded it, so it says the destination path already exists, and it's not in the repository, so it's not gonna overwrite it for me. So once you download it all, you can navigate to it. You do cd and then the name of the folder that it created, which is COP4710 full stack sample. And if you just type in 3 letters, you can press tab and it'll autocomplete for you. So let's go in there, and currently what you'll have in there is what you see right here. So it's going to be the public folder, a git ignore file, a package log JSON, a package JSON, and a server JS. So the server JS is the main entry point for our node server, and we let our server know in this package JSON what it is. It's a JavaScript object notation. So this is just details about our project, the name, version description, the main file, server.js, and this will keep track of some of our dependencies, so some of the stuff that we download in npm. It will automatically get added here, so other people, when they also use your project, they will be able to just automatically get all the dependencies just by doing an npm install. So my boilerplate currently has not much in the server.js. So I brought in Express, which like I mentioned earlier, was a way to create a web server with Node.js. Const app equals Express. It's just instantiating Express and creating an app for us. The port is what we're gonna pass in to Express, and to know where on our server it's gonna run on what port. And don't worry about this, that part only matters once you deploy this application, but since we're not deploying it right now, don't worry about that. It's just gonna run on 3001. We're telling the app to use our static folder, our public folder, as a to like always serve it. So every file within that public folder will be accessible to anybody through the server, and that's where we'll hold our HTML or CSS or JavaScript files. It's all gonna go in the public folder. Then we go through these are just configurations for our node server. So for when we make requests to it, it's going to be able to parse the body as JSON, so it automatically is able to get that data easily from the front end. So this is just configuration stuff. You don't really need to know exactly what it does. Just know that it allows us to parse the body easily. And so this right here, I just wrote a small, quick example route. So what this basically says is, when the application receives a GET request at a route example, it's gonna fire this function. And this function, what Express is gonna pass into it is the request, and then we're gonna send back information to whoever sent that request through the response. And then we're just saying when this fires off, the response should send this text. This is an example request. And then we start the app by telling the app to listen uh, at the port that we told it to, and then run this function. So all I put in here is console log, letting us know that the API server is now listening to this when it runs. So yeah, pretty basic Node.js application. And so if you so let's just kind of go through it. So here, if we do, let's just clear this real quick. So you guys just downloading this, you guys are not gonna have the packages needed for this. So if you have, this is Visual Studio Code, which is just an editor, and I've already begun making some changes. So we'll go over what those changes are after the fact. But so if we go to where's my desktop? God, I'm blind. Here we go. So here's a folder. Here's all the files that we had. You guys won't have this initially downloading it, and that's all the folders where our dependencies and our libraries will go. But npm takes care of that for us. So if we go here, first thing we want to do is do npm install, and npm install will read through our package JSON, and then install the dependencies. So for you guys, it'll install Express, and then you should be able to run it by just doing node server.js. And see, this is what we told our server to print out, so that we know that it's running. So now that you know that the server is running, you can go to localhost colon 3001, and when you go there, you're gonna get the index file. I think so. Let me actually, oh yeah, that's what I need. Hold up, go back. So it's serving the index file that we have in the public folder, and I actually made some changes. So what you guys are gonna see is this is the index. So if you see that when you go to localhost 3001, that means that your server's up and running. Yeah, so now a little bit more as to what's happening with this folder structure in the front end. Remember that we said we told the application to use the public folder. So it's serving everything in the public folder, and web programs are usually set up to always look for the index.html file. That's why we don't have to set up a route to go specifically to the index.html. So that's why it automatically serves that file, which mine has the welcome to the Henry database assignment thing. And don't worry about the rest of this stuff. This is just some bootstrap stuff to just make it a little prettier, and we're going to go over that probably more in the second session. The first session, we're probably going to focus more on the backend development and connecting to SQL and getting that data to the front end. So so here we're going to go over some of the stuff that you guys didn't see. So another piece of the code that we're going to want to implement is MySQL, and this is also another node package. So if we stop the server using Control-C, to be able to use MySQL, we have to install it using npm. So we do npm install MySQL. I'm gonna -f save, so it saves on my package JSON, and it should. There we go. It installed it. I don't think it added. Okay, so I did add it to my package JSON. So now when I upload this changed file, you guys would be able to just do an npm install and it'll automatically come with it. So yeah, now that we have MySQL, we're able to use it in our code. So we use the require syntax in JavaScript to tell our application to add MySQL, and then we use so this is the way that you create a connection to your SQL database. So you do MySQL dot create connection, and then you create this object, this JavaScript object right here. So JavaScript objects just work as key value pairs. So our key here is host, and our host is gonna be localhost because it's everything that's running on our computer. If you were to be connecting to a SQL database that's hosted on the internet, you would put the address or the IP address or the DNS to whatever whatever database you're working on. The user that you're gonna use to run the queries, which is root. The password for that user, I just set it to password because it's a clean database install and it's not hosted anywhere. Normally you wouldn't want to add in stuff like that. You'd use like a keys file or environment variables to be able to pass it in. But I don't care if you guys see my password. There you go. Password's password. And the database that we're going to use, which we're using the Henry database. So yeah, that's the connection. And then to use this, we saved it into a variable called connection. And let's actually go through how web kind of works. So the way that the web kind of works is through a series of requests mostly. So we have get requests, which allow you to get information from a server. You get post requests where you're able to send information to a server and then retrieve. You have puts, which put requests let you add information to something, and you have delete, which allow you to delete things from a server. Sorry guys, I'm a little sick. So like I told you guys, I created a very simple get request in this application. So what this is saying right here is we're telling the application whenever we get a get request to our example route, we're gonna respond with this is a request. So just so you guys see it, if we go to localhost :3001 and we do I think I called it I have bad memory, just example. Okay, so we go /example, and if my server was running, okay, node server.js to run the node file. So we do that again. What was returned to our browser was exactly what we told our server to respond with. So we told the server to respond with this is an example request. But the way that we want to be able to use this with between our interface and our server is actually that we want to give back database information. So I've created this simple route to be able to just get everything from author, and it's so whenever you do a get request to /example SQL, we're gonna use the connection that we have to our database, this variable here. We're gonna query it, and we're gonna say select star from author is what we're sending to our database, and then we pass this function that will run once it sends this to the server. So the function can take either an error, a result, or fields, and we're actually not using fields, so I'm gonna remove this quickly. That will be useful for other calls, but first thing we want to do is do a little bit of error handling. So if we do get an error with this query, we want to send the 400 back to whatever made that call. We want our response to send that error back, and then we want our server to throw that error so that we're able to catch it in our server logs. If this doesn't happen, then we're just going to send back the results to the front end. Right? Simple. So if we go and hit example SQL right here, this is the information that we're getting back from our database. So if I do the exact same thing on SQL Workbench, this is exactly what we're getting back. We're getting Morrison, the author number is 1, Tony, just like this. So this is exactly how we would connect the front end to the back end. I'm gonna zoom in so you guys see a little bit better. Right, so perfect, we can get this information in the browser, but how does that help us with our front end? Now, our front end, our HTML can actually do these requests, and it can get that information. So what I actually did for you guys was in our index.html, I added jQuery, which is a JavaScript library that just has a bunch of shortcuts and shorthands to be able to play with the DOM, play with the HTML, but also makes it easier to make requests to our server. I connected a scripts file, which is right here. It's the JS scripts. And in here, all I said was make a GET request to /example SQL, and then get this result and console log it. So log it to the console in the front end. So if we actually look here in the inspect, in the console, this array 25 is that data that we have from the database. So now our web browser, our front end is getting this data. We just need to do something to be able to display it so that it's actually visible to a user. So if we go back, instead of just console logging that, what we're going to do is we're going to iterate over the results. So we're going to do a for loop. Actually, let's just do rest dot for each. I hate the way it does this. Okay, so we're gonna do a for each over the result. This is the JavaScript shorthand for the for each, and then this is the function that it's gonna run for each instance of that element. So we know that this one just gives us author, so we're just gonna call it author. And what we want to do is we want to be able to display this information in our HTML, right? So I created a little spot right here, this div with ID content that we're going to push that data to. So we're gonna use jQuery. jQuery has this really cool notation that is $ parentheses, and it can capture elements in our HTML. So I'm gonna capture that ID content that I have right here. So let me zoom in a little bit to make sure that you guys can read everything. So we're getting this ID content div, and we're going to append to it a live coding's hard. Let's see. Before we do anything like that, let's create a div for each. So let's just do a p tag here. Let's just do we're actually gonna Google it because I forgot. So we're gonna do jQuery new element. Yes, that's appends. That's not what I want. Create a development. Here we go. Stack Overflow. Oh, you can just do it straight there from the append. Cool. Sure, let's do it. Why not? So we actually do go back. We're gonna append it, and we'll just do the actual HTML here. Div. We're gonna use. There's actually template notation for this, but because it'd be a little harder for you guys to do, we're just gonna do this quickly, just like this, and then we'll close the div. Let's make it a p tag actually. Make it a little nicer. Okay, so now we're saying we're gonna append a p tag with the author, but now the problem is if we go back to this, so the author, each thing that we're having is an object, right? And right now I just want the first name, last name. So we're gonna do author dot first name. Pretty sure that's how it was. Oh, author first, author last. Okay. Dot author first, and then gonna add a space, and then we're gonna do author last. Okay. If it all goes well, we should be able to see this in the HTML. There we go. So now our front end has these, but it looks ugly. We probably want to be able to clean this up and probably do even more to this later on. But so let's see, let's clean it up a little bit. So what is it doing? What are we doing to our HTML? If we inspect the code, we just have p tags all the way down. But I already added Bootstrap, so let's add a little bit of Bootstrap to it. So Bootstrap has, you gotta get Bootstrap. The code I sent you guys should already have these, but if it doesn't, you can pick up the CDNs for the CSS and for the JavaScript to be able to use it. So we're just gonna use the documentation, and we're gonna look at their components, and I'm gonna add it to a card. So that looks a little much. I just need a very simple little card and card body. So cool. I'm gonna take this example. Go back here. We're gonna replace this here. This is supposed to be inline. So let's inline it real quick. This is the part that's gonna need. Wait, let's inline it first, all of it, so that we don't get confused. Cool. Okay. So we're actually gonna use string templating for this. Makes it a little easier on me. So we're gonna use the backticks instead of the regular ticks. The backticks should be right next to your number 1, number 2, right under the escape key somewhere in your keyboard. And this will actually allow for us to use something called string templating in JavaScript. So we're able to add in variables in here without using the plus. So what we want here is author dot author first, and then here we want author dot author last, right? So now if we go back, I'm pretty sure it's still gonna be ugly. It's a little nicer. We have a little bit of cards here. So the reason it's kind of ugly is because our HTML that's holding it is just a row, right? So Bootstrap has a bunch of cool classes for their layout. They have a grid system, which makes it easier for you guys to be able to create nice layouts. You wrap everything in a container, and within that container, you can add columns and rows. So actually, what I want for these is for each column to be, it's based on a 12, size 12 grid. So one whole, like your whole screen size is 12. I want 4 authors per, this area right here that we have. So this card, I'm actually gonna wrap it in a div with the class. Let me double check the classes. I am so out of practice. Oh, it's just, okay, no, that works. So, oh, it was backwards. Oh. Column, small, 3. Right? We open that, we gotta close it with another div. Okay. And if we go back, there we go. That looks a little nicer. Automatically separates everything for us. And yeah, so we're connected to our database. We're doing this. But what if we want to do more? We need a little bit more functionality within this application to be able to, get this information from the database. So let's see what's available to us in our database. We have publishers. I don't know if you guys have any suggestions. I don't feel like making complex queries. That's not what I'm here for. That's part of your homework. But yeah, this is just a quick example that I set up to be able for you guys to be able to understand how these work. But now, for example, if we're just doing this on load here and like getting all this stuff, but what you should actually be working on is, for example, making sure that you're able to like search through things, or you're able to make different requests. So let's actually work on that. Let's pull up a specific author from a search. So let's do form input text. That's self-closing. Let's do button. I'm gonna use bootstrap classes real quick. btn. Let me see the button classes real quick. Components, buttons, cool. Button primary. This is gonna be, submit. And then search form. I didn't prepare too much stuff for you guys here. Okay, cool. We have a search. Does nothing right now. But that's not what I want. Interesting. Cool. So we have a text box, we have a button, and we have something that happens when it submits. So we're gonna give this an ID of I don't care about this. We're gonna do it just jQuery. I'm gonna do search form. Cool. So what we want here inside this ready function, we're going to do jQuery notation, ID, and we call it search form dot on submit. So when it submits, we're gonna do run this function. We're gonna pass in an event, right? Right now, what I'm gonna do is do event dot prevent default, and let me double check, because you should always double check. Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, we're gonna prevent default, because if you guys notice, whenever I submit, it refreshes the page, and we don't want that. So we're gonna prevent default first. Let's test it out. Make sure. Okay, we're no longer refreshing that, so that's good, and that means that this was triggered by this form here. Cool. So we have that connected. So now let's see what this event is. Let's log it. No longer need to log that because we're adding it to the HTML. All right, submitted it. Let's go to the console. Here's the event. That's a whole lot of stuff that we really don't need to care about. Target, what caused it, so we can get the input. We can look at everything else, but none of this, we don't care about any of this. Yeah, we don't care about anything here. So all we care about, so there's actually, so what we want from here is the values of the form. The only thing that we have here is our input, so it'll be pretty easy for us to be able to pick up that value. So what we're gonna do is this should work. I could be using this incorrectly, which is totally fine. This could be entirely wrong, actually. Whenever I'm not sure about anything, I just always throw it in the console to check. You should actually use a debugger, but I'm lazy, and we're just gonna console log everything. Perfect. So let's do this instead. Ew. Yeah. Okay. So we're doing a for each using jQuery on our search form. We're gonna serialize array, and then the function that we're passing into the for each is we're taking the values, we're setting it to the field name and the value. We actually don't care about it as an array because we only have one value. So I'm just gonna call it input val, and then we're just gonna set input val to it because that's all we care about. So then if we log it afterwards, undefined. I love that. Let me see something. Can you tell I was unprepared to give this? Alright, let's do this. So it's not running at all. I love that. I don't think it's... Oh. No, wait, yeah, that's fine. It's an empty array. Why is it empty? Did I set up my form wrong? No, I don't need the whole thing. Oh, I could just use the whole thing. At this point, we're just gonna stack overflow them. Why are we getting empty? Did I mess up my form? Let's see. Form, input, submit. Is it because I closed it and it's complaining? No. Let's see. Why is this being weird? I'm gonna do this the hacky way then. Alright, we're doing it the hacky way. Really quickly. I probably don't even remember how to do a form input because I haven't used vanilla in so long. Alright, well. Let's give it an ID. Name. Let's do name. Let's get the value of it. Cool. Let's see. Okay. I'll go cry now. What am I doing wrong? Somebody can throw that at me. Why is this not working? Why are we not? Oh, well, that's because this is an ID and I'm dumb. There we go. That's fine. That's all we need. So now we have stu var search val equals name dot val. We get the value of it. So we're gonna make now a get to our backend. Get slash authors author. We're gonna send an object with this is gonna be the body of the request. So we're gonna send author, and we're gonna send in search val, and then dot then the response. We're gonna add in we're gonna add it into a different div. Actually, let's move this quickly. I want the search form up top. We'll move this, and then this other one is not content. This is gonna be search results. Let's make this nicer. Save that. Okay, cool. So what we're doing here, we're gonna do the same thing that we did, same little card style, but we're gonna do it to search result. Cool. So now, if we do that here, we look up someone here, nothing happens. Well, first of all, we're getting the result, but we're not catching the error. So let's catch the error. Okay. So let's do if error, throw error. Oh, actually it's not a throw error. We can console that error. Okay, cool. Alright, we moved it. Tony. Search. 404 not found. Cool. So now, the problem is that our backend has not, it's not ready to receive this request that we've sent right here with the body and at this endpoint. So what we have to go back here in our server is create that endpoint. So it's another get, app.get, and we said it's called author. And the function this time has a request, a response, and a body, right? So now I'm gonna take the same thing that we did here. Actually, we'll just type it out. So connection.query, the query that we want. So now the query that we want here is gonna be select star from author where crap, how's it set up? Author. I'm gonna be doing searching by first name, but obviously you guys can do it more complicated. You do author first. So you can do where author first equals, and here's where we're putting in our body dot, and what are we sending it as? Author. Cool. That's our query. Let's double check it in SQL Workbench before we do anything, because obviously I'm gonna fail this class. So it's where author first equals, and I was doing just Tony. There we go. So that works like that. Now let's double check that this works here. Equals body of the author. And obviously we're assuming that the request is being sent correctly with actually having an author in the body of the request, like we're doing here. But that's okay for the assignment. Cool. So we have the query. Now we do the function. We can get an error, get results. Same thing, if we get an error, we want to no, just send just status. I want to send a 400, which there's a bunch of status codes, but this is just the easiest one to throw at people. We're gonna send the error to the front end, and then we're gonna throw an error in the back end. Cool. And then we're gonna do send the results if we don't get an error. Okay, so we need a restart our server for this. Just do it again. Node server.js should be running our new stuff, and if all goes well, search bad request. Cool. So what does our server say? Unknown column undefined in where clause. All right. Sent a bad field. All right. This is my first time using this too, so let's look up the error. Cap. Cool. Oh, you need it in single quotes. Whoops. Okay. So that single quotes. Remember, we're using string templating, so we're able to just insert stuff into that. And restart server again. Okay, cool. So now we do that. I love that. Success. That's an error. Oh. I love that. Our error was success. I think we set that up wrong. Screw the error handling. It's right now. We'll deal with this. Oh, also, we're kind of dumb. This is from the result. And actually, we should check what the result is before trying to use it. Alright, so let's check that out. Cool. We're not airing out, but something's wrong here. What's the problem with our SQL query? Let's see. Well, first of all, make sure we're getting the right thing. Console logs everywhere. Alright, let's try that again. Undefined. That's our problem. Okay. Oh, we don't have body person. That's probably what it is. So I think you can just do this, or I might need to install body parser, but I'm pretty sure body parser now comes installed. Body's not defined. Cool. Okay, let's get body parser. Body parser makes everything so much easier. npm install body parser. That's not what I want. Paste. Actually, let's do that with save, so when I upload, people will have it. Cool. And now we just add it, just like we added all our other dependencies up here. Make it constant. And we gotta tell Node to use their body parser. If they have an example somewhere. Here we go. Oh, you just replace the regular Node ones with the body parser ones. There we go. Now we have the body parser. And we should be just able to get request.body. Okay, that's right. Okay. Should be able to do this. Oh my god. There. Try that one more time. What's happening? Why is body coming back empty now? Alright, let's look at the jQuery docs for this. Yeah, that's the data. It's an object. Here you go. What's the problem, buddy? Yeah, that's the right way of doing it. I love debugging, if you guys can't tell. Let's see. We should be fine with body parser. This is when I go back to old projects, because we use this for everything. So let's go through some of my old projects. Don't look at work stuff, I swear. Don't look at some other stuff. Let's see. Wow, I don't have any of my stuff on here. Classify probably has it. Oh god. Yes, 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 yes. Don't look at that. That's ugly. Oh my god. It's the routes. API routes. Yeah. That's fine. It's request.body, and then you just set up the body parser stuff. But it doesn't want to work. No, stop. So body parser should be working. I don't want to print out the request because the request is. I think we're. No, this is fine. Debugging. That's not what I want. It's empty. Why is the body empty? Okay, let's see. request. Request is a big ugly object, so it's gonna look really ugly. Oh yeah, big ugly object. Yeah, I'm not gonna look through this. Yeah, that's super ugly. Oh, was it passed as a query? That doesn't make sense. Let's try it though. No, because it's not a query string. That's not how that works. Okay. Cool. It passes as a query string, not as the body. I'll go kill myself now. Cool. Here we go. There we go. Now we got it. Now we got the object. It comes back as an array because, as you guys know, SQL can come and get you back multiple objects. So yeah, you could literally just do the for each again, which I'm gonna do. Now that we have the result, same exact thing. Clean it up a little bit, much nicer. Author. Okay, and let's put the results above that regular one that we have, just so you can see stuff. So right here, and we're gonna have these three. Cool. Go back. Now I have this. I want to find my boy right here. Nothing. Bit away. I probably messed something up though. Alright, let's see what we're doing wrong now. Going back to the console log of the response. Author first. Yes. What's the problem? For each, you get the author. Appended a search result. Check what's happening. So we are getting Tony. Are we appending it somewhere else? Oh, what's happening? Doesn't make sense. No. So why are we not appending this now? So we are getting this. Oh, and is this not right? What should I do? Result. It is an ID, right? There we go. So now we're able to do search font Paul. There we go. So yeah, that is a little bit better for you guys. But yeah, just let your imagination go crazy, coming up with little things like that. I'm gonna spend some more time with the front end and creating more complex queries probably in the next time. So just let me know what you want to see. I'll probably be doing that Saturday or Sunday. Just message me and we'll see you then. See you guys.